These are the basics.
Really good details and enthusiasm.
Word choices, the images, the metaphors, engage with what the author has written.
In your own words.
Think about storytellers in your life.
Those words are going to tell you more about the author than you ever thought possible.
You're making decisions about
You
your
do
writing.
have a place in the overall conversation
on paper.
See where your story goes from there.
Good luck. Hey guys, I'm Alexandra Morano and I teach English here at Alamance Community College. And I want to talk to you today about persuasive writing. The first thing to even think about when we're talking about arguing in an essay or writing persuasively is, why do we have to learn this skill? Why do you argue in the first place? Well, generally speaking, over the course of your career and your life, you'll argue to convince people that your opinion is the right opinion. You might also argue to get something you want, like a promotion or a raise. Finally, you might just be arguing to convince others that your opinion is reasonable. You might not even want to change their mind. You just want to show them that your side makes sense. Once you get it in your mind why you argue, the next step is to figure out how you argue. The very first thing that you need to do when you're building an argument is to come up with a claim. A claim is just a fancy way of saying come up with a point, or come up with what you're taking a stand on. So, although most claims are arguable, there are some claims that aren't arguable. So file these away so you don't make these mistakes. You can never argue things that are facts. That may seem pretty obvious, but still, I want to say it. For instance, the sky is blue. You can't argue against that. We all know it's a fact. Human beings need oxygen to breathe. Fact. Nothing else to say about it. So that's the first one that you can't argue. The second one that you can't argue is a little trickier. It's issues of faith or belief. I think it's totally fine if you believe in little green men and you are convinced that aliens are out there. If you have faith in that or you have that belief, that's great. But there's nothing you're going to say or do that's going to convince me of that. So that's where issues of faith or belief come in. Everyone's entitled to their own issues of faith. They're entitled to have their own faith and whatever. And we don't really want to argue that in an academic research paper. The last thing that we can't argue is are matters of simple personal taste. Whenever I teach this in class, I always say, okay, who's the one person that doesn't like chocolate? Because there's always somebody, that guy, you know? Well, we can't argue that either, although it's clearly obvious that everyone should love chocolate. If someone doesn't love chocolate, we can't convince them otherwise. It's a matter of simple taste. If someone doesn't like hip hop or country music, you can't tell them they should, right? It's personal taste. So those are the three things, those three claims aren't arguable. Anything else is open season, is something that you could try to convince others to believe or try to persuade others of. The next thing you want to keep in mind with your claim is that a claim has to have two sides. By this I mean, well, here's a good example. A lot of the times students will say, I want to write about bullying. I'm like, great. What do you want to say about bullying? And the next thing they'll say is, well, bullying is wrong. The thing about that is that bullying is wrong, and we all know it. Although people still might bully other people, like students might bully each other, nobody's like writing an academic paper arguing that bullying is like super cool, we should all do it. Most people realize that bullying is a bad thing, so it's not something that has two clear sides. The same thing occurs in more serious topics like child abuse. Although it still occurs in the world, people aren't arguing for it. So whenever you're coming up with a topic, it has to be something that truly someone might take a stand on. A topic like bullying might have some subtopics that work. So for instance, you might argue something like the rules that are in place right now in high schools aren't effective enough to curb bullying. That's a good argument because someone might say, oh, but I think the rules in place are effective enough. And so then you have a debate, you have two sides. So a topic always has to have two sides in order to be viable, in order to be a good topic, all right? A couple other things to think about when you're writing a persuasive paper. You can't write about everything. It's easy to say that you want to write about something like bullying, but that's a global topic. So always think about narrowing your topic. You're probably writing an essay that's pretty short, somewhere between 2 and 10 pages. And although that may seem long, it's not. So you have to keep things narrow. Avoid writing an essay that's sort of like everything you've ever wanted to know about blank, try to narrow it. Finally, the last thing I'll say is once you come up with a good claim, a good topic that has two sides and that is arguable, you then need to support it. And we support our claims, we support our arguments with evidence. In an academic class, evidence is essentially research. That might mean statistics and studies, facts and quotes from experts. It might mean personal anecdote, your own experiences. And it might mean hypothetical examples, like what if scenarios. So those are all great ways to support your claim. Okay, this is your starting lecture on persuasive writing, so good luck.